Hello everyone, good morning to all of you. Please confirm that you are able to hear me clearly and the presentation is visible to you. Okay, fine. I think now it should be more audible. Okay, okay. Thank you everyone for acknowledging. Now you have had an introduction to the subject in which in last two lectures of this week, right, you learned what is a compiler, right, and you also learned why it is necessary for you as a computer engineer to learn how it is constructed, right? And we saw that there are different phases in which the whole process of the source program getting translated to the target program, okay, by the compiler happens. Okay, it goes through different phases. Now these phases are divided into two categories. Okay, we bifurcate these phases into two parts: analysis part and the synthesis part. Right. Now in analysis part, what we do, okay, what we as a compiler, okay, does is that it goes through the phases of lexical analysis, syntax analysis, and semantic analysis. Once all these phases of analysis are gone through, right, then we go to the next phase. The code goes to the next phase, okay, which is known as intermediate code generation, or the phase in which IR or intermediate code is made. Yesterday, you have just learned that why it is so important to have an intermediate code, right? Because translation from one language into different machine languages, okay, creates a fold of m into n, right? So to reduce that, okay, we have an intermediate code representation which we will learn, right? This ends our analysis phase. Then before the synthesis phase starts, or in the initial part of the synthesis phase, okay, we try to optimize this intermediate code. Okay, so this intermediate code is optimized, right, which is known as machine independent code optimization. Then that code is used to generate the machine code, so that is code generation phase that happens after it. And finally, machine dependent code optimization happens, right? So today what we are going to start with is code optimization. More specifically, we will be focusing on machine independent code optimization. So we have intermediate code with us, right? You have been familiar that what is the importance of IR, right? Intermediate code, intermediate representation, right? Now we are going to see that what different optimizations can be made upon it. Okay, so let's start with that. Code optimization aims at improving the execution efficiency of the program, right? Now, how it can be achieved? There are two ways by which you can achieve code optimization. First one is you try eliminate the redundancies in a program. Now there are many redundancies, okay, in our code, right? And if they are eliminated, our code gets optimized. We will learn different algorithms, right, that will help us reduce or totally eliminate the redundancies in our program, right? And these algorithms, again, they will be classified into two categories: global and local, okay, depending on the need. Next is that we rearrange or rewrite the code. computations in the program or our code can be rearranged or rewritten so that it can be executed efficiently. So this is how we aim at improving the execution efficiency in code optimization by reducing the redundancies or eliminating the redundancies and rearranging or rewriting our code, right? uh, Most of all the compilers, okay, they have this code optimization in which redundancies elimination and then rewriting of the code happens. But the most important thing is that while we are achieving at efficiency, we are not supposed to change the meaning of the program. We are not supposed to change the meaning of the program in code optimization. That's not we are that's not something which we should do, right? The program should remain intact, the meaning of the program should remain intact, and then we go about optimizing it. Now let's see what is the scope of optimization. Optimization seeks to improve a program rather than the algorithm used in the program. So we are not looking at improving the algorithm, right? Whatever the user has used, whatever algorithm has been implemented in the program, right? That is not to be improved. Okay. So replacing the algorithm with a more efficient algorithm is not the scope of the optimization. We are simply improving upon the program, not improving on the algorithm. So this has to be taken care of. Second thing is that efficient code generation for specific target machine, right? By fully exploiting its instruction set is also beyond the scope of the code optimization phase. That is taken care of by code generation phase. So that task, okay, making it efficient for a specific target machine, okay, that is not done in this particular phase. So the optimization techniques that we will be learning are going to be independent of both programming language as well as the target machine, okay, and also the algorithm. Right. So that is why this phase, okay, is known as machine independent code optimization. And in simple terms, we will just call it code optimization. Right. So whenever we try to represent the source program getting converted in our compiler into a target program, right? It undergoes two passes schematically, right? So the whole process is divided into two parts, okay? Calling one part as a front end and the second part as a back end, and in between this is our intermediate representation. Okay, so intermediate code generation that we do, okay, that is going to be in between the front end and the back end. So front end, okay, involves the analysis, right, and the back end involves the code generation and machine dependent optimization. Now the front end is going to generate the intermediate representation, right? And we will see that what are the different ways in which this intermediate representation happens, or what is mechanism used in the representation, right? Yesterday we came across some words like tuples, triples, quadruples, okay, three address code, right? We saw some examples of three address code, right? So how they are generated, or what rules are to be followed, that we will learn, okay, and that is the outcome coming from our front end, which is our intermediate representation, right? Now this intermediate representation is to be transformed in our optimization phase. Okay, we will optimize this intermediate representation and it will be given as an input to the backend for code generation and target machine dependent optimization. So making a small change in this two pass schematic for language processing, We add the optimization phase. So when our compiler is an optimizing compiler, right, in between the front end and the back end, okay, we have the optimization phase which works upon the intermediate code that has been generated. So let's try and understand what exactly are the optimizing transformations. Okay. So an optimizing transformation is a rule for rewriting a segment of a program to improve its execution efficiency without affecting its meaning. Right. So the meaning of the program, right, should not be changed. These optimizing transforms are broadly classified into two transformations. One is local and second one is global. So depending on where they are applied. So if they are applied over a small segment of a program consisting of few source statements, then we will call them as local optimizing transformations, right? And if they are applied over a large segment, okay, or a huge bunch of uh, segments, right, or the entire source, right, then we will call it a global optimizing transform, right? And we will be learning specific algorithms for each of them. The reason behind this distinction is the difference in costs and benefits of the optimizing transformation. Because we will see that uh, it is costly to go about optimizing transformation, right? Though it is for the betterment of the code, we are going to optimize it, right? But it is not sure, right? We cannot guarantee that it will result into improvement or it will result into more efficient code. Okay, that cannot be guaranteed, right? So that is why sometimes local or global, depending on what code is there, right, it is decided by the compiler, right, that what type of optimizing transform should be applied on a given code, right. So it is all dependent on the code, right. So the compiler will analyze the program, right, to collect the information regarding what transformation should be applied, right, and the costs and the benefits. Okay, it will depend on how we have, or rather, how the compiler has analyzed the program. So it depends on that. Now, few names we are going to discuss of the optimizing transformations. Okay, they are compile time evaluation, elimination of common sub-expression, dead code elimination, frequency reduction, and strength reduction. Okay, so we are going to go through these optimizing transformations. Okay, as part of our course. So starting with the first one, that is compile time evaluation. Yes, Priyank, it may happen sometimes. Okay, that your the effort that you put in to make all these transformations. Okay, that also will require some steps to be followed. Right? We are applying the transformation, so that if it may not be cost effective. Yes. So I'm not saying that the program may end up performing badly, but when you add up the cost, okay, total we as a whole big picture, okay, we may not end up getting the desired benefit. That's the thing. Okay, so tiny little thing, like say suppose we are trying to replace every occurrence, or we are trying to do so much optimization that we end up doing a lot of effort, okay, and that is not really required for our code. Okay, it may not make a major difference into the efficiency. Right, so as a whole, we can say that there is a loss in the profit, that kind of something like that. Okay, so no, no, not negative, right? But we will not have a huge benefit out of it. Okay. See, because all the steps that we do, okay, they will affect the performance, right? Because every time you do a certain task upon your code.
display
Okay, you will
button
be
just like this,
interacting
and now we can
with
see
the
the
symbol
pictures
table.
that
You
we've
will
taken.
fetch
If
the
we hit the
symbol from
display
the
button,
symbol
we can
table. You
find
will
out
put
more
it back
information
after making
about
some
this
modification.
picture. We
So
can see our
all
histogram
that
right
is
here. We can
very
see what
time
ISO we
consuming.
shot
So
at.
if you
Just by
remember
focus,
the
and to do so,
first
we're going to
diagram
hit
that
the
you have
plus
learned for this
magnifying really see.
compiler
So to
construction,
go back
right?
to now,
Every
we're just
phase
going to
interacts
play
with
around with a
the
couple of
symbol table,
settings.
right? So every
100 frames a
trip
second,
to the
we're going
symbol table
to
and back,
take a
okay, that is
picture
also
and see what
going
that
to
picture
cost
looks
you
like. And we
time,
can see that this
and
picture is one
it
stop
will affect
darker
the
than
efficiency.
the first picture that we took. So using a faster shutter speed is going to give us a
Okay,
darker picture. I'm going to demonstrate
fine.
that one more time. This
So
picture should be
moving
considered
ahead with
another
the
stop
different
darker at 1
optimizing
400th of a second.
transforms,
And we're going to
but
take
that
this
doesn't
picture, and
mean
this
that
picture
you
should be
don't do this.
considerably darker
Okay,
than the
I'm
other
not
one.
just painting a bad picture, right?
And
But
as we
it
can
may
see, it is
sometimes
one
happen. Okay,
stop
it's not
darker, and
always
it
the
is
case.
faster
So
speed
compile
like
time
that. But as we saw, the
evaluation is
picture was way
something
too
that
dark. So we're
can be
going to have to
done
go in and
during the
change our ISO by
compilation
hitting the
process
ISO button
itself,
just like this.
right?
And we're going
So
to increase
execution
our ISO
efficiency can be
2
improved by
stops to
performing
ISO
certain actions
1600. Now
in the
we're going to take the
program
picture
during the
again and see what this
compilation,
picture looks
right?
like.
And this
So as
eliminates
you
the
guys can
need
see,
of
this time the
performing
picture
them
again
during the
is properly
execution of the
exposed.
code. So if something is not required to be performed during execution, but we are able to do it at compile time itself, then naturally the execution time of the program is going to reduce, right? So the constant folding, okay, it is the specific name given to this compile time evaluation is constant folding, in which what we do when all the operands in an operation are constant, right? Then the operation can be performed at compile time because all the necessary things, right, for the operation to perform, they are constant. They are available to us at compile time. So the result is also going to be a constant, and it can replace the original evaluation in the program. If it is not a constant but a value coming from a variable, right, then it is going to be available only at execution time. But if it is a constant, right, then it can be replaced at the time of compilation. So let's see an example, very simple example to understand what is constant folding. Say suppose there is an assignment like this. Okay, uh, a equals, right, a is assigned the value, right, 3.14 divided by 2. So now in this particular expression, right, uh, the operation is division, and division is performed upon two constants, right? So we always know that the answer is going to be 1.57, so on, right? So we can directly replace it at compile time. It can be evaluated at compile time, and then at runtime, the division operation can be eliminated, right? So some things like this, okay, may occur in the program quite a few times, right? So the compiler will identify that what can be evaluated at compile time and replace them by the value. So that is known as constant folding. We fold the constant and replace it by the result of the operation. So that is known as compile time evaluation. It will reduce the execution time of the program. Next is elimination of common sub-expression. Okay. So see, many times in our code, okay, there are some sub-expressions which are common. Okay, and they are yielding the same value. See, this is very important. See, the expression may be same, right? Say suppose the expression is a plus b occurring quite a few times into our code. Okay, very simple sub expression. And if that sub expression is yielding the same value, meaning there is no change in value of a or b in between these expressions, right, then always a plus b will give us the same output, right, it will give us the same result, right? So these common sub expressions can be eliminated because they are yielding the same values, right? And that task of eliminating these common sub expressions is a optimizing transform. This optimizing transform can be done locally as well as globally. We will learn its algorithm in detail, right? Right now I'm just giving an overview to it, right? Then we will learn the local common sub-expression algorithm and its implementation, and same for the global common sub-expression elimination. Now let's see that how this algorithm is designed, okay, in brief. Then again we will take it in detail with all the steps. So let's assume that CS, common sub-expression, is designated a set of common sub-expressions. So we are having the common sub-expressions identified, right? Now it is possible to eliminate an occurrence, okay, an occurrence EJ that belongs to this set of common sub-expressions if no matter how the evaluation of EJ is reached during the execution, the value would have already been computed. Okay, so if it is giving us the same value, only then it is going to be the case, and then it is possible to eliminate. So again, you don't have to go for the computation of the expression because it has already been evaluated previously, right? So we are eliminating the common sub expression, right? So what we will do is we will make a provision to save this value. So once you have computed, say suppose a plus b, we will save it at some place, right? And instead of a plus b further into our code, okay, we will use that saved value into the place of occurrence of the expression e. I hope this follows. Okay, so we don't have to compute it over and over again. So let's take an example to clarify, right? So say suppose over here in our code, okay, on the left as you can see, okay, B into C is stored in A, right? So there is an expression B into C. Now further down into our code somewhere else, okay, again this sub expression is observed, okay, B into C plus 5.2, okay, or something, some expression is there, right? So now we see that there are two occurrences of B into C, right? So if we do not make an elimination, the compiler will have to compile the when it compiles, okay, if it keeps it as it is runtime, it will have to make the computation of B into C two times, right? So instead of that, what we do, okay, what our optimization transformation will do is we will store the value of B into C into a temporary, okay, called T, right? We will save this value where it is first occurring into a variable called T, right? It is going to be a compiler generated temporary, right? And then we assign the value of T to A, right? The statement is the same, right? T is containing B into C, that we are assigning to A, meaning of the program. Then later where B into C is observed, okay, we will just replace it by C. So we have eliminated the common sub expression and evaluated B into C only once. So the second occurrence of B into C has been eliminated, right? And the meaning of the program hasn't. So if something like this we do on a small chunk or only a segment of the program, then it is called local. If we apply it on the entire program, right, entire source program, right, then it is called global common subexpression, right? So how the steps we will follow, okay, we have an algorithm to learn. So we will know that exactly what steps to follow so that we are able to identify the second or multiple occurrences of the common sub-expressions and eliminate them by taking temporaries, generating temporaries in which the evaluated value or the computed value is stored. Okay, so this is the second technique of optimizing transfer code optimization transformation, is that we eliminate the common sub-expression. Taking one more, dead code eliminate. Okay. Now, what is a dead code? The code which can be omitted from a program without affecting its result is known as dead code. Okay. So how do you identify that what code is a dead code? Dead code is detected by checking whether a value is assigned in an assignment statement, used anywhere else in the program, right? So you have made an assignment, but then that value which we have assigned, if we are not using anywhere, right, then that assignment is a dead code. Okay, it is not used anywhere, right? So an assignment expression assigned to x constitutes a dead code if the value assigned to x is not used in the program, right? No matter how the control flow after the execution of this statement, right? So no matter what control flow is observed, right? So control flow can be altered when we have some statements like conditional statements, right? So in which a certain condition is satisfied, the control flow may change, right? So no matter what the flow is, okay, if we are not using the value of x, okay, then it is constituting the dead code, right? So this expression constitutes the dead code if its execution will not produce side effects, right? So it must not contain any function call, right? So if this expression, if it is containing some function calls, okay, then we will not be eliminating because we would not know that what effect it may have, right? So if it is a simple expression, okay, not having any function calls, right, then it is very easy to identify the it as a dead code if the value is not used, and then such a code can be omitted from a program, and it will not affect the behavior of the program. So we will not be making any changes into the code, right? Its meaning, and still it will be okay. Next is frequency reduction. Okay, so I hope the idea behind dead code elimination is clear. Okay, as the name suggests, it is very simple. Okay, so such code should be eliminated. Moving ahead with the next transformation, frequency reduction. Okay, so execution time of a program, okay, can be reduced because see, we are all aiming at efficiency, right? So how we are improving the efficiency? By reducing the execution time of the program. It can be reduced by moving a code from a part of the program which is executed very frequently to another part of the program where it is executed fewer times. Okay, so one of the example of frequency reduction is loop optimization. Okay. So if there is some code, okay, which is not required inside a loop, but still it is placed in a loop, right? Then such code is known as loop invariant code. We will see an example and you will get it, right? So if we move such code outside the loop, right? Say suppose we place it at the entry of the loop, right? So it will not be executed as many times as the loop runs through, right? And that is how we will be reducing the frequency of the loop invariant code. Okay, that many times it is running. So it is moved outside the loop, it will get executed only once, and that is how we are reducing the frequency of which it is getting executed. So let's take an example. So first look at the code given to you in the lower part of the presentation. Okay, so there is a loop, right? A for loop is shown, right? And in this for loop, there are a total 3 statements. Okay, the for loop starts, right? Then there is an assignment made of value of I into Z. Then there is a computation of 25 into A, right? Assuming that there is a identifier A, right? And that value has been assigned to X. Now X is added to Z and the value is stored in Y, right? Now if you observe, right, the value of X is not going to change, okay, because it is not dependent on the loop. So if you calculate the value of X outside the for loop, right, the behavior of the program is not going to change, right? So such a code, okay, is called a loop invariant code. So X assigning the value of 25 into A to X, okay, if it is moved outside the loop, as you can see on the right hand side, right, that we are moving this code outside the loop, it means it will get executed only once. In previous case, if you see, that line would have been executed, okay, 100 times. But instead of that, that line now gets executed only once because we are moving it outside the for loop, right? So that is called frequency reduction. But again, if you observe, the value of x, which is used in another expression, right? The statement below it, where we are assigning the value of x plus z into y, okay, that is not a loop invariant. Why so? See, value of x is of course not dependent on the loop, but value of z is based on value of I, because we are assigning value of I to z, and value of I changes with each iteration of the loop. So it is dependent on the loop, correct? So if it is dependent on the loop, then you cannot move those statements, or you cannot move that code outside the loop. So those two statements, okay, which are dependent on the variable I, okay, will remain inside the for loop. Okay, so I hope you are getting that what statement should be moved outside the for loop. Okay, and before that, how we can identify that a code is loop invariant or not. I hope you are all following this. Okay, good. Next transformation is strength reduction. Okay, so what is strength reduction? We are going to replace the operation. See, we are not again changing the meaning of the code. Okay, we are simply replacing a operation, okay, which is time consuming, right, by a faster operation. For example, okay, we are replacing multiplication by addition. Okay, see, multiplication is going to definitely consume a lot of time, right? It is a high strength operation. And addition, okay, it is a low strength operation. So if we replace multiplication with addition, okay, then we can observe that we have improved upon the code, okay, and hence optimized it. One more example which was discussed in yesterday's lecture, okay, is that if we have a product, or if we have multiplication with the multiples of 2, then you can use shift. Okay, shift operation also can be used as a replacement, right? But generally, okay, if we are talking about multiplication wherein it is not a multiple of 2 with which we are multiplying, okay, then always you can go for addition operation, which is very useful in strength reduction. So all of you observe the code that we have over here, that inside the for loop, okay, we have a variable k that is multiplied by the loop control variable I with constant value 5. So we are multiplying the value of I with 5, okay, and we are storing it in k. So what we have done is we are trying to replace this multiplication with addition. So what we have done is, okay, what optimization we have done? We take a temporary in which we store the value 5 by which we want to multiply, right? So basically I into 5 is addition of I 5 times, right? That is the multiplication. I into 5 is addition of I 5 times. That also is going to give you the same result. So what we do over here, right? We simply make tiny modification, okay, by adding a temporary variable, right? And the code gets transformed, and we are not using multiplication operator, but instead addition operator is. See how simple it is, right? And the optimization can be done. Okay. So that is strength reduction. Now, this is something which we have to note, right? Whenever we discuss strength reduction of optimization, that it is not performed on the operations involving floating point operand. Okay. So whether to go for strength reduction or not will be decided based on the type of the operand. Okay, and that information can be obtained from the symbol table, and its entry will be made during the analysis phase. Right. So floating point operands, okay, we will not be, if there are there, then strength reduction cannot be done because the finite precision of the floating point arithmetic, okay, cannot be guaranteed, okay, as an equivalence of the results after strength reduction. So if it is a floating point operand, we will not perform. So in the previous example, okay, we have to assume that I, okay, it is an integer. Okay, I is assumed as an integer, right? Also, it is a loop control variable, so it is easy to identify. But still, we have to ensure that whenever we are working upon, okay, we are not having any floating point operand. Okay, so over here, sorry, I is also in an integer and it is multiplied by 5, which is again an integer constant. Okay, so that is why we are able to go for strength reduction by replacing multiplication by addition. Okay, fine. Now it's your task, okay, for you to practice. Okay, I have put up some uh, segments of code, okay, on this slide, right? There are some six independent segments, okay, 1 to 6, they are not related to each other, they are independent. You have to identify that for each, which optimizing transformation can be applicable. Okay, we have studied 5 optimization transformations, starting with the first one, compile time evaluation, right? Then second one we learned was common sub expression elimination, right? Then third was elimination of dead code. Fourth one we learned was frequency reduction, and the fifth one, last one that we just discussed, is strength reduction, in which we replace the operation by a uh, low cost operation. Okay, so try and identify that in each of the code segments which optimization transformation can be applied. And once you are ready with all 6, if you want, you may type it down into the chat, okay, after a minute or so, and then we will compare answers. So in your examination, okay, some small question like this can be asked, that code segments are given and you are supposed to identify which optimization transformation is applicable. So let's see if you are all able to do it. Okay, another thing that I would like to advise, that for the sessions of compiler construction, okay, keep a notebook or some rough sheets handy with you, okay, with a pen or pencil, okay, because you will require to work along with the content that is being delivered, okay. Only then you will be able to understand things better, right? If you just simply go through the material that we will be sharing with you. All these presentations will definitely be shared, right? But if you just go through it later, right, you will not be able to understand and prepare them. Okay, so uh, it would be better if you keep some writing material handy, right? And as we discuss different examples, there are so many problems that we are going to solve, right? Exercises that we will solve, right? So you can just solve along with the session, right? And many solved as well as unsolved examples we will be covering throughout the semester, right? So if you um, do them by hand yourself, okay, you will definitely learn better. Okay, Hannah has got an answer for 4. Okay, very good. Harsh has also come up with the answers. Okay, fine. Okay, Harshit and Harsh. Okay, two students have given answers. Good. Okay, so I have answers from only 3 students so far. Let's see what others are getting, right? See, whenever such an exercise is given, okay, do not peep into the chat window immediately, okay? Just try to solve it yourself, everyone, right? Then only you will learn. Okay, so 4 of you have taken an effort to type down the answer in the chat window. Thank you for that. Right, remaining students, if you are still calculating, okay, you just inform me in the chat that you have the same answers as above. Okay, just let me know so that I have an idea of out of 95 students, okay, how many of you are really getting it. Okay. Priyank and Rahil are getting the same answers, which are slightly different from the ones shared previously. Okay. Let me give you all some more time. Okay. Everybody works at a different pace, right? So let's give the batch some more time and let's see if we have some other answers. Very good. Devang has also added some answer from his side. Yes. So all of you who have written in the chat, okay, 90% of your answers are the same and correct, right? And over here, I wouldn't say that if your answer is different, it is totally wrong, okay? Because like I told you, given a situation, okay, that optimization transformation may or may not happen, right? Uh, so let's see, right? Before we conclude the lecture, we have only 10 more minutes, right? So let's discuss the answers and get a background of what we will be discussing further. Okay, so discussing the answers with you, right? Looking at the first one, what we have, R is assigned value 20. Okay, now area, the expression, okay, evaluated for computing area involves a constant, right? 22 divided by 7, which will always yield us the same answer because it is a constant. uh, Both the operands are constant, okay, so the operation will result into a constant value, so that can be evaluated at compile time, right? So 22 divided by 7 gets evaluated at compile time. So all of you have correctly identified that first one, the optimization transformation that can happen is compile time evaluation. Very good. Second one, over here, try and observe the right hand side of the assignment. Okay, what do we see? We see B plus C, then we see Q plus R, then we see C plus R, and then we see B plus C. Okay. Now, are we changing the values of B or C anywhere? No, it's not getting changed. So, the expression B plus C will give us the same answer which will be stored into A, as well as the same answer will be stored into Z. But we will be computing it twice. So, instead of that, what we do? We eliminate the common sub-expression, evaluating B plus C only once, storing it into a temporary, and then assigning the value of that temporary to A as well as X. So all of you have correctly identified that the common sub-expression gets eliminated, okay, in the second code segment. Looking at the third one, okay, what we have in the third, we have again an expression, okay, in which uh, an evaluation is possible at compile time. 50 divided by 100, it can be evaluated at compile time. So third one is the optimization transformation that will happen in the third code segment is compile time evaluation. That also everybody has identified correctly. Looking at the fourth one, okay. Now see, whenever you see a loop, okay, try to identify if there are some statements in the loop that can be moved outside the loop, okay. So try finding out code, loop invariant code, okay, the code that is not dependent on loop variable. So over here we have sum equals to sum plus I. Okay. So over here I is going to change with every iteration of the loop. So that statement, okay, that code cannot be moved outside the loop. But there is a statement, okay, that says x into y assigned to a. Now it is not dependent on any loop variable. So that can be moved outside the for loop. Okay. Now, fifth one, okay, so all of you have correctly identified frequency reduction for the fourth code segment. Okay. Now, looking at the fifth one. Now, in fifth, okay, there is a value 10 assigned to Q. Okay. And now we are making a condition check. Okay, there is a conditional check that Q, if it is equal to 0, then perform certain task. Okay, then you add R plus S. Okay, you add S to R and then assign it to P. Okay, but will that ever get executed? No. Why not? Because the value of Q is 10, okay, and it is never going to equate to 0. So the condition will never be true, and the statements inside the if block will never get executed. Over here we have only one statement, but if there are a bunch of statements, none of them will get executed. So that is our dead code, okay, which never is going to get executed, okay, and it can be eliminated at compile time. So in fifth one, it has correctly been identified as dead code elimination. Now last one. Okay. In last one, we are having only a single operation. Okay, b into 4. Okay, so this is just a small code block. Okay, consisting of only one statement, right? Now here, if we try to apply an optimization transformation, which can it be? It can be a strength reduction optimization. Okay, if we want to apply, then in the last one, strength reduction can be applied because multiplication is a costly operation which can be replaced with either addition, okay, or shift, right? Because we are multiplying it by a multiple of 2, okay, we can also use a shift operator for um, strength reduction, right? So all those students who have correctly identified the strength reduction in the last code segment is correct. Any questions, anyone? Right? So summarized, I have added the hints of what optimization transformation into one slide. Okay, so later for your reference, you can use this. Okay, any questions regarding the same? Or all of you have got this? Good, very well. So this is not at all difficult, okay, very easy. You just have to know the names of the transformation and you should be able to correctly identify from the given code segment. Okay, very scoring, okay, as far as examination is concerned. Right. And if you pay sufficient attention during the sessions, okay, these online sessions, okay, you will not even need to revise this. Everybody will now remember the 5 transformations that we are going to keep as part of our course for now. Okay, so you should be able to identify them very easily. Okay. So now, after this, from next session onwards, okay, we will be moving ahead with 3 address codes. So what I'm going to do is, before I discuss the algorithms for these code optimization techniques, okay, I would like you all to understand what is a 3 address code and how it is generated. Okay, and what are the rules that we need to follow for this 3 address code? It is an intermediate representation, right? So we will see the rules for it, right? You have an idea of what it is, right? But we will see through it in detail, okay, and then we will go about learning the algorithms for these different optimizing transformations. So today what I have conveyed is just an overview of what is code optimization and a few techniques in brief, right? So that from a given code you can identify that which transformation is to be applied. Okay, so we keep up to this, and from next class onwards we will be discussing the 3 address code and its. So thank you everyone, right, and have a nice